I'm back again. So what we're going to do this time is going to be a short one. So the feature that I'd like to add is being able to refresh to make sure you've got the newest data from the server. So let's just kind of do an example of the problem. So right now, localhost, I've got no quotes, right? So if I go into my app and I run it with localhost true, so I'm going to just see no movie quotes, right? It just says no movie quotes. But if I was to go in and actually add one, so I'm just going to say test. I'm just going to say added via the web client. I'm going to add that quote. There's no way to like get that quote in here, right? So like what I want to do is I want to be able to pull down and just get it. I mean, I can stop the app and rerun it, and you know that will pick it up. But that's kind of lame, right? So I want actually a way to pull it down to refresh the view. Turns out that Apple has a really nice built-in feature for you called a RefreshControl. It works only if you're a UI table view controller. So you have to be a table view controller, not just a plain old view controller. There are some hacky ways to work around that, but we are a table view controller, so it'll be easy for us. So what I want you to do is I want you to find your view did load area, and we're going to add a little bit of code in here. So you can see I've got a little trash left over from when I used to be appending things a different way. I'm just going to delete that, right? That's no longer relevant. Likewise, I've got some trash here I can delete. So what I want to do is I want to create a refresh control. If you start typing refresh control, it'll just kind of automatically type it for you. And that's because a UI table view controller already has something called a refresh control. It's just a property. It's currently nil. So what you need to do is you just need to create a refresh control. It receives no parameters. And then on your refresh control, you're going to have to add target. And so you just start typing add target. And what it'll do is it'll automatically do the question mark for you for optional chaining. No optional chaining is completely unnecessary here because we know it's an object. We just created it on the line before. If you wanted to make that an exclamation point, I'm fine with that, but I honestly don't care. Target. Target is who do you want to call this method on? We want to call it on self. Selector. Who would we like to call whenever this happens? So we have to type in the name of a selector. So I'll just say refresh movie quotes. If I was calling a function that didn't take any parameters, so for example, I'm going to be calling query for quotes. If query for quotes receive no parameters, I could just call it directly. But since it does have that optional parameter, I want to call some other function because if you call a function that receives a parameter, it's going to pass on a reference to the refresh controller, which we do not want, right? So we're just going to make a new function. I haven't not written that function yet. For control event, same trick as always. Enter right arrow dot. See what my options are. I believe the one that we want is value change. So if you type the V, it should auto-populate it. And then if you wanted to, you could delete the control events part just to make it a little shorter. So that actually does a lot just right there. The only problem is it's going to call this function that doesn't exist, so we should fix that. So I'm just going to go down into my little private helper methods area, and I'm going to type func, and I'm just going to add that method. And then all that method is going to do is it's just going to be it's just a wrapper, right? So it's just going to call query for quotes with a nil page token. If you wanted to, you could say page tokens nil. I believe you should also just be able to leave it out. And so with that little, we'll get it to work. It will have a problem, so I'm going to pull it down, and it's going to go do its thing. And the problem is it doesn't go away yet, right? So that's a bug. So it did refresh. Oh, I suppose I should show you that it did actually work. I'm going to go ahead and stop it and rerun it. I'm just going to add another quote. All right, and I've typed in this quote. So right now I've got it to where it's running. Oops, it's not running yet. So it's running. And if I do a pull down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that quote now, and then I'm going to do a pull down over here, and it should show it. It just doesn't go away. So the only thing we got to do is we got to make it go away. That's actually trivially easy. So we'll just go into our query for quotes, and we want it to go away as soon as the query finishes, right? So I'm going to go inside my closure. I'm just going to go below this self.initial query complete and say self.refresh controller in refreshing. And so that just makes it go away, right? Make sure that you do put that inside the closure area so that it doesn't go away until the the actual refresh is done. So now it's up. If I do it now, it'll refresh, but there's nothing there. Let me test the whole thing. So I'm going to add a third quote. And everything works with the refresh controller now is what I chose to write. Don't make a liar out of me. So there it goes, and then there's your third quote. Cool, so that's RefreshControl. Really easy to use. Only works if you are a UI table view controller, but there are some hacky ways to get around it if you want to do something different. But we are a table view controller, so it was very, very easy to make this refresh controller. All right, that is it for the R, the read part of CRUD. Next time we're going to start in on the C, so the actual create. All right, see you next time.